All right, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Rec Tech Live here on a Thursday afternoon in the Northeast, and also coming at you from the West Coast today with our buddy here, Roberto. Today is how AI delivers better results for jobs, and we're going to be joined by Roberto Angulo. He's the CEO of Recruitology. Say hello there, Roberto.
Hey, everyone. Good afternoon for those of you in the East Coast. I'm in San Francisco. Good morning, and thank you, Chris, for having me.
Yeah, well, pleasure, and looking forward to the discussion. I think it's the first time we've ever seen each other in virtual person, I guess.
Yeah, we've met in person.
Email many a time.
Exactly.
Over the years, but it's good to finally put a face with the name.
Likewise, yeah, good to put a face as well.
Awesome. And just to remind everyone, show notes for next week: best practices in text recruiting with our buddies over at emissary.ai. I'll be having the founder of Emissary on, Ewan Hayward, making a rare public appearance. If he's watching today, it'll be good to see him. We're going to talk about everything you ever want to know about text recruiting, text etiquette, use cases for it, how to do it properly overall. So it's going to be a great show, I think, and already a lot of interest in the sign up so far. So rectechlive.com, September 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern. All right, we got some people live on the call. Let's do a quick few shout outs here. So I see Carol on the line. Hey, Carol. Angie's here. Sarah, my buddy Paul Miller's back once again. Hey, Paul. Lada and Danielle are on the call so far as people are joining in now. Just getting the word. Hey, Laura. Hey, Lada. All right, so shout outs are over. Roberto, tell us quickly, just introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a brief synopsis of what Recruitology is, what you guys do.
Thank you. Sure. So again, my name's Roberto Angulo, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Recruitology. And what we do is we provide a cloud-based recruiting platform for small and medium businesses. So we're serving employers that are typically small, 1 to 10 employees, up to 500 employees in some cases, but it's typically small local ones that are not getting served or they're sort of in the last mile, as I'd like to call it. And we work with about 32,000 new employers every year, and we're working through media resellers or trusted media partners who are media resellers. So they resell Recruitology under their own brand. And that's been our go-to-market strategy. So we've been focused on building the technology and then educating our partners on how to sell these solutions locally to SMBs. And the SMB market is pretty interesting. So what we're seeing is employers that are typically looking for 1 or 2 people, maybe once every 6 months or so. So it's not sort of the active pipeline, but they do have a very consistent need and maybe a couple of times a year, once a year, maybe 3 times a year. So that's the audience we serve. And we launched Recruitology 3 years ago. So Recruitology was actually spun off of a company that I co-founded called After College. After College is in the college recruiting space, still one of the top sites. I actually started that one out at college. And over the years, we've ended up growing the employer base. And about 10 years ago, we started partnering with media companies, publishers who said, and I'll give you an example, Chicago Tribune, Chronicle, right? And these are companies that said, hey, we have this local base of employers that are advertising locally, but they also need college talent. So we started building partnerships with these media companies where we would accept jobs from them and distribute them to after college to the right school. We still do that. But over the years, our media partners started saying, hey, we need nurses. We need part-time workers. We need access to veterans. We need access to accountants and all these other areas. So this reseller channel that we had for after college quickly sort of started outgrowing the core business of after college. So in 2016, we spun it out. So Recruitology is now completely separate from after college. After college is one of many niches that we serve through Recruitology. After college is being run by a separate team now. I'm still involved, but my focus is on Recruitology. So in essence, what we've done is we sort of took Recruitology, or we took our reseller partner team from after college, took them out of after college. We took a lot of AI work that we were doing with after college, which you can still see. So before, we were matching jobs to candidates. So we were starting from the candidate perspective, and that's sort of where we developed our AI machine learning chops with after college. With Recruitology, we're doing the opposite. We're taking a job and then matching candidates to that job. And that's kind of what I'll talk about today, right? So then we also bought a company called Crosspost back in 2016. I don't know if you remember Carl Braun, John Fuji.
Yeah.
So they did a great job at sort of growing this network of sites, and we had partnered with them, and we just worked pretty well together. So we decided to take our partnerships team, a lot of the engineering team and technology that we created, combined it with Crosspost, and then we launched the Recruitology brand, and that's how we started it 3 years ago. So we went from about 100 reseller partners to close to 500 now, and growing. And again, the focus being on helping small, medium employers with most of their recruiting needs, if not all.
Yeah, it's essentially programmatic job distribution, right? You're pushing these jobs out with.
Exactly. So it's programmatic job distribution. There's also candidate matching, which I won't get into because we have only an hour, and I want to kind of focus on the AI piece. But it's programmatic job distribution. It's matching of jobs to candidates that we're pulling from other partner sites, top sites like Next, and various different sites. And we're also doing like audience distribution and geo-targeting through Facebook now, and that's a new product we just launched. But the goal is to make our partners, our reseller partners, be the one-stop solution where employers can go to them and get all this technology. And then we're partnering with best-of-breed sites to provide this one-stop solution.
Okay. And tell us what we're going to learn today, Roberto. Give us a quick overview.
So, I get asked a lot of, and recently we started to get asked saying, hey, can you just give sort of a basic overview of what AI is and what machine learning is? So I've been giving a couple of presentations, or I've given a couple of presentations just in the past month. And so this is sort of the evolution of that. And we hear about programmatic, we hear about AI, we hear about machine learning, and we all use the words, but sort of what I wanted to do today is just kind of give you kind of a basic overview of what these terms mean, and then how we're using it. So Recruitology is using AI for programmatic job distribution and other things, but I'm just going to focus on the job piece. And I'll make it a little bit of a sales pitch, but really what I wanted to do more than give you a sales pitch is kind of focus it on just explaining AI. So for those of you who kind of know the terms, but would like to know more about what AI is and how it can be used, I think this will be pretty interesting for you. If you already know what it is, I apologize, but I'll make it fun and interesting at the same time.
Yeah, no problem. I just pulled up the presentation here, so feel free to take it away.
Great.
And of course, audience, if you have any questions, put them in the chat there. I'll stop Roberto and ask him, and let's get rolling here.
Cool. So yeah, definitely stop me with questions. That makes it more interesting. It's supposed to be sort of giving just a long presentation. So again, Recruitology, cloud-based recruiting platform, working with SMBs. I already covered that. We just talked about this. So the problem we're solving for employers, and that we're helping our reseller partners solve is the issue that you see, right? Top of the funnel, getting candidates to apply to your jobs, right? If you're Google, if you're Facebook, if you're a well-known brand like Salesforce, you probably don't need help filling the top of the funnel. But if you're a small, medium employer that's trying to recruit local talent, it's just harder. I mean, as you know, it's just harder to figure out where to post your job. If you have one job, it's hard enough. I mean, you can post on many of great sites like Indeed, you can post on LinkedIn, Craigslist, but how do you really know what site's going to deliver the most applicants at the right cost, right? So what we've done is basically said, hey, go through Recruitology, or more specifically, go to one of our partners, like Berkshire Hathaway Media, for example, right, which is one of the partnerships we just announced. You can go to Omaha World in this case. They have a posting section. You post through them, job gets posted locally on their site, but then it gets programmatically distributed at the same time to the sites that are going to get the most the most response and the best quality applicants. So we're trying to take the decision making away from the employer so they don't have to, and just make it more cost effective. And again, I mentioned we're working. So Recruitology, we have no aspirations of becoming a brand. We're sort of a middle layer that's in between the job seeker and the employer, working with reseller partners, and then partnering with top brands, as I mentioned, like Glassdoor, Indeed, Next, Jobs to Careers, and so forth, and then also posting jobs to or pulling candidates from sites like After College on the entry level space, moonlighting on the gig economy side, and also distributing jobs to the marketplaces in Facebook and also on LinkedIn. Right, that's our goal. Bringing those top brands and highlighting them to the employer, but saying, hey, we'll help you navigate this and figure out where to post.
Hey, Roberto, a couple questions on this. So with Facebook, are you pushing directly into their job board there?
With Facebook, we're doing a couple of things, and it's evolving as we're kind of talking to them about how best to position the job on the on Facebook. But one of the things we've started doing is, so we were one of the 8 original beta partners for jobs on Facebook. So we're doing that. Yeah, we were. So I think ZipRecruiter was there, JobScore was there, a few other names, and Recruitology was one of them. So we're sending jobs to jobs on Facebook, and that's sort of been evolving because you needed some approval process from the manager of the Facebook page, and they've since streamlined that. But the other thing we started doing is putting ad spend behind the job. So we're actually taking a job posting, converting it into a feed, into an ad that actually goes in the feed, and then putting budget behind it. So the employer they're posting their job and they said, hey, I want Facebook. They click, and then we automatically convert the job to an ad and then distributed the ad on Facebook as an ad using like audiences. So we have the like audience technology to do this. So we're doing the original sort of partnership we did with Facebook, but also the converting the job into a feed ad. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, and how about Google for Jobs? Are you seeing decent results coming out of that platform?
We are. So the way we're leveraging Google for Jobs is when Recruitology is something that employers can access through one of our reseller partners. So somebody could be going to Omaha World or omaha.com. They go to the jobs page and they post a job there. So the job's going to get placed on Omaha, and that'll sort of be the source of truth of the job, the first place it gets posted. And then Google for Jobs is going to go in there and take the job and put it on Google for Jobs. So we've worked with the Google team to make sure that the jobs are formatted in the schema that they prefer, to make sure that the jobs are properly displayed on Google for Jobs.
Gotcha. All right.
Cool. So, and the beauty here is we're giving employers access to potentially tens of millions of candidates each month, right? Through collaboration with all these various brands that are top brands in the recruiting space. So what is AI? This is sort of the meat of what I wanted to talk to you guys about, and sort of what I wanted to share. So I'll just kind of give a little bit of an overview of AI and how Recruitology is using it in this specific case in programmatic job distribution. So AI, or artificial intelligence, is sort of a broad field, right? So you have deep learning there, you have neural networks, which I'm not going to talk about today. So I'm going to focus on a couple of areas, which are machine learning and natural language processing. And I promise I will not make this technical. I'll sort of put it in real terms of sort of how you can get an idea of how we're using these two concepts to better match jobs to candidates. So machine learning, right? We hear about machine learning. It's a subset of AI, but it's also a subset of data analytics and big data. And just with just recent technology in the past decade with databases and so forth, machine learning is more prominent. And then natural language processing is what we're using to better classify jobs and match them to the right sites automatically. We're also pulling candidates from different sites, but I'll focus on the job distribution piece and programmatic for today. So machine learning, let's talk about machine learning. It's the field where you give a computer the ability to learn based on data that you're feeding it. So there's a couple of different definitions for machine learning, but in essence is giving a machine the ability to learn without giving it specific instructions on what to do. They figure out what to do based on patterns that they identify in data. So that's enough with these definitions. I'll kind of show you what I mean by that. Let's say you have a machine learning program where you show it some shapes or some objects, and you're trying to get it to classify the object into what kind of shape it is, right? So let's start with sort of the column on the left. So you have three different objects. You have a Rubik's Cube, an orange, and a Dorito, right? So you're trying to teach the machine to identify whether it's a cube, a sphere, or a triangle in this case. So in this simple example, that's what we're trying to do. So if you feed it only the column on the left, mm-hmm. and then you hear about feedback loops, right? So you're giving the machine feedback, and you tell it, hey, this object on top is a cube. And then it'll say, okay, but it might not know why it's a cube, right? It might think, okay, is it a cube because it's three colors? It has like a red, blue, and yellow. And then you told the machine, hey, this is a sphere, and it might say, is it because it's orange? And then you show it the Dorito, and you tell it it's a triangle, and then it'll think it doesn't yet know why it's a triangle, right? So then you give it the second column of objects, right? And then you have this die there, and you tell it it's a cube, and then it'll start thinking, okay, it's not because it's different colors. Maybe it's because it has pointy corners, right? Maybe it's because it has four corners. Same with the baseball, right? It's no longer a sphere because it's orange. And then you give it a slice of watermelon, so it's not because it's a Dorito, right? So the point here is you keep giving the machine more data, and it's going to be better able to identify the pattern that you want it to identify. So my point here is, and actually the same concept happens with jobs, right? You can have the best algorithm in the world, and you could say we have machine learning and we have top scientists working on machine learning algorithms. If you have good data, then you have a really good system. If you have crappy data, then you don't have a good system at all, right? So the point here is the more data you feed it, the better it gets. So in the case of jobs, you take an accounting job and you say, okay, this is an accounting job. You take an internship and you tell the machine why it's an internship. So the more jobs flow through a specific system, the better you can train a machine to identify whether that job's going to be an accounting job, for example, an internship, a plumbing job, an electrical engineering job, software engineering job, and so forth. So it's about the data. So if you have good quality data, you have a good system in place. Algorithms help, but it's about the data.
Yeah. Roberto, how would you explain sort of same name jobs? Like I'm thinking of recruiting, for example, could pertain to hiring people, or could pertain to sports, right?
Yeah. So that's where the job description comes in too, right? So the job title could say recruiting, but the job description is where you basically extract skills that identify whether it's going to be sports recruiting or HR recruiting. So in our case, the machine learning is looking at the job title first, but then it's also looking at the job description and extracting specific skills. And that's actually what I'm going to talk about next.
Nice.
So we mentioned machine learning, also talked about natural language processing, or NLP for short, right? In natural language processing, I mean, we use it every day, most of us. So if you have a phone and you talk to the phone, or if you have an Amazon Echo or your Google Home device, whenever you're talking to that device, it's listening, and it's basically taking your speech, converting it to text, and then converting it to instructions that the machine can understand. So the same case happens with jobs and job descriptions, and that's exactly what you just asked, right? So I'll get into how we use.
By the way, I'm waiting for the first audio job board to appear on Alexa or something.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea, not a bad idea. I think, right? I think you could do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so machine learning. So this is a combination of text analysis and machine learning, and I promise this is as technical as I'm going to get here. So let's just focus on sort of the part on the right. But with machine learning, what we're doing is taking jobs that are coming in with either similar titles or different titles. So in your case, if you have a recruiting job coming in and it's for sports and a recruiting job for HR, looking at the job title is not enough. You need to look at the job description and look at the skills there, and the system's going to score the job and determine what category it goes to. So in our case, actually the example I had for you was one with different titles, but that are in the same category, right? So tax accountant, machine learning is going to, or natural language processing is going to be used to say, okay, this tax accountant job goes into the accounting category. This auditor job initially goes into the accounting category. Small engine mechanic, water operator, those are two different job classifications for jobs that are in the same sort of broad category of maintenance. So that's sort of the initial treatment that we give to the job using NLP and machine learning. And the more jobs we process, just the better it gets at making these matches, right? So that's machine learning and NLP in action. And then I'll talk about at the end a little bit about how, if you're posting jobs that you want to leverage programmatic, how you should structure these jobs to make sure that the machines are doing a good job at matching you to the right sites and the right candidates. So I'll kind of leave that towards the end and finish one slide. So bidding, right? Actually, this little chart looks complicated, but it's not, right? So once we've classified the job, the other thing we're doing is determining how much to bid on these sites, right? So with our programmatic job distribution, what we're doing is, and we call it Max Recruit, we're sending jobs to sites that accept jobs on a CPC basis, right? So sites like Indeed, Next, Jobs to Career, Jobcase, and so forth. So it's a growing number of sites that we're adding to the network. So let's say you take a single job and the starting bid is 15 cents. And our machine determines that it's 15 cents because it's categorized the job and it's looked at similar jobs in the past, and it predicts that this job is going to perform on a certain site at 15 cents a click as a bid. Mm-hmm. So now picture the job. So it goes at 15 cents, and then you say, okay, the machine will say, oh, it's not getting enough clicks. I gotta increase this to 30 cents. And then it'll check again. It'll say, okay, 30 cents is fine, or no, I'm actually getting too many applicants. I'm going to lower it to 15 cents because I don't have to spend 30 cents. Or it might say, wait a minute, I'm still not getting enough applicants. So it increases to $1 a click, right? Mm-hmm. And this is all simple stuff. I mean, this is what you can do on your own if you sit on in front of the computer and you look at putting ads on Google, or if you want to put an ad in Indeed, you can do this through their great interface, right? You can do this manually yourself. But if you're doing this for a job across 30 different sites or 40 different sites, that's where it starts becoming time consuming, right? So managing the spend for one job across 30, 40 different sites, that's where the machine learning comes in and helps to automate. And then if you're doing it, if you're an employer with 10 jobs, even 2 jobs, it gets complicated. If you have an employer with hundreds of jobs, then it's not impossible, because nothing's impossible, but it's really hard.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do that.
You need a warehouse of people just focused 100% of their time, like 24/7, 3 different shifts, just managing the spend, right? So that's sort of the example I use of how machine learning and AI applied to programmatic helps employers target their jobs more effectively. So in an example I give with Recruitology, and this is with Max Recruit, let's say we're processing 20 different jobs or 20,000 different jobs each month from 20,000, or let's say 15,000 different employers, right? So 20,000 jobs, and let's say we're trying to figure out how to distribute these to about 100 different sites. And let's say we're checking this 10 times a day, right? So let's say every hour we go in and we say, okay, how is this job doing on this site? So we have 20,000 jobs, 100 different sites, 10 times a day. And on average, we're seeing jobs posted programmatically get a response in about 15 days. So we're typically pulling jobs in 15 days, not the traditional 30 days. So that if you multiply those out, that comes out to 300 million actions that the machine learning is doing on its own in an educated way. Whereas you can do it with human beings, but again, you would need a warehouse of people doing all these different things. And it'd be a lot of time and money just managing this process. So this is an example of where the machine learning in the AI comes in to automate and streamline the job distribution. And this is what we do with Max Recruit.
Okay.
So, and I promise that was as technical as I was going to get, and that is as technical as I'll get. So I'll show a demo of how we sort of put this in action. Does that work? Just kind of a quick little demo of the interface. So I'm going to scroll here to the interface, right? So this is the Recruitology interface, and these are some campaigns that we're distributing programmatic, and I'm going to use the campaign that's already expired because I don't want to mess with live jobs, right? So in this case, take for example, Blattner Energy through one of that we're managing, right? So in this case, they have 11 jobs that they wanted to test out and distribute programmatically. And I'm going to click through to where you can create a campaign. And in this case, the campaign's already created. It says that it's running, but we've already exhausted the budget. So we keep it really simple. There's not a lot that you need to do. You don't need to manage this at all. You just set it and forget it. And that's sort of our philosophy. Recruiters and employers have a lot of things to do. And the last thing we want is for them to focus on trying to manage job posting and budget spend to be the top of the funnel. So
here's a question for you. What's a typical amount of spend you have to have for, let's say, one job? What's the average spend that will deliver enough, applications coming in, if there is a number?
That is a great question. I don't have a simple answer for it, but some jobs you can have as low as $20 per job spend. We typically find that if actually in a tight labor market, if it's a city with low unemployment, and it depends on the job type as well, you could end up spending thousands for a single job, right? Let's say it's even a truck driver job. Yeah. Truck drivers are in such high demand that it's hard to give an average, right? I mean, it could be thousands per job, but if it's a job in let's say maintenance or customer support, sort of like skilled but sort of vocational, you could get away with spending very little, like $20 a job or $15 a job to get enough traffic. I'll tell you the way we offer it. So what I'm showing you now is sort of the top of the line. And again, what you're seeing is fairly simple. But for example, an employer posting through one of our partner sites, let's say it's Chicago Tribune, Omaha, or LA Times. They're posting a job on the job site, and they're getting the benefit of the local reach. And then we're applying a fixed amount of budget to programmatically send it out to the right audiences, right, on these sites. So the budget spend there could range from $15 to $100. And that's usually enough to get more than enough candidates. But some employers are saying, well, wait a minute, I have more hires, I have more jobs that I want to promote. So we have a product where the minimum spend is $500. And for $500, you can put any number of jobs programmatically. And this is what I'm showing you now. So in this case, this specific employer for this campaign decided that they wanted to spend $2,500. So they entered the budget. In this case, the budget's already been spent. Okay. And they had 11 jobs running in this campaign. So the sort of the levers you can pull here, you can say, hey, this is really, I have an urgent need. So I need you to go very aggressively on these sites. So I need to set the campaign for 10 days in terms of just aggressiveness.
Yep.
I think we're seeing an average of 20 days just because there's a lot of high urgency recruiting, but you could be 30 days, 40 days, 60 days. And then the jobs get posted, and the employer can post a job themselves. Our media partners will post a job on behalf of the employer. And in cases like these, we'll even set up a crawl where we can crawl the employer's website, and then the jobs appear automatically here. So once the jobs appear, the employer, all they need to do, or our partners, is they can just select what jobs they want to include in the campaign. Again, they set the budget, and they set how aggressive they want to run the campaign. And if they want to pause the campaign, they can do that. So they can, I don't want to mess with this one. Actually, I'll mess with this one. So I just paused it, right? Because the budget's already spent. And you can turn it on whenever. And again, it all depends on how the employer is set up. Do they have enough infrastructure to handle enough candidates? If they're set up for interviews, then they might want to go aggressive. If they just sort of want to do an evergreen campaign that's running not too aggressively, they can do 60 days, and then they can renew campaigns. So that's the interface. I mean, there's no more. We try to keep it simple. We can crawl the jobs, we can get a feed, and the employer just needs to set up the budget, how aggressive they want to spend, and what jobs they want to promote. And they can do different types of campaigns with different types of jobs as well.
Yeah. Can we see some of the reporting aspect of this?
Yes. So I'm actually going to show you not the cool graphical stuff, but one of the things that we highlight is the transparency that we provide. So this is, for example, in a per job. So I just looking at that same campaign, those 11 jobs, you can see on a per job basis how many clicks they got. And then you can actually click on the number of clicks, and you can see how much was spent per click on each different site. So we're highlighting the publishers and their brand here. And again, our goal is to provide complete transparency to the employer on how much they spent per click, and then what job site it came from.
What are you seeing as the most expensive CPC sites out there? Is there sort of a pattern you see there, or does it vary?
It totally varies. So let me go back to the presentation, and let me know if this works. Are you seeing the slides again?
Yep.
Okay. So now I want to talk about results, right? One of the things we're seeing, we get a lot of anecdotal feedback like this, right? So in this case, one of our partners contacted us and said, hey, their client was new to they were new to this to programmatic. They tried a few jobs. They spent the $500 for the minimum spend for the variable budget campaign. They ended up getting 45 applicants, $11 an applicant, and then they ended up bringing 13 people in for orientation. So to me, this is a very good example of how it worked. But again, to answer your question directly, it varies by the job category. It varies by the location. So on average, this is a...
All right, here he comes.
Okay. I don't know what happened there.
We lost you there for a second. Did you hit the tab?
I think I just I moved to another tab. Hold on.
No problem.
How long was I talking before I cut out?
It's been about a minute or so, I guess.
So I think we were talking about results, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So to answer the question about what sites perform the best, different sites perform better for different types of jobs in different locations. So it's hard to say, like it's not fair to say, oh, this site performs better versus compared to this other. One site could have like a really high cost per click for one type of job, and then it could have a very low cost per click on another type of job. So it just varies. Some sites come up in cost and then they go down. And it also varies by season, right? So seasonality matters. Maybe one job board could be doing some marketing effort to get certain type of job candidate on their site. So that'll lower the cost per click. And then maybe another site will do the same a few months later. So it just varies throughout the year.
There we go.
Okay. So to answer the question, what site gets the most or is the most expensive in terms of clicks? It just varies by the type of job. and by seasonality. So a site could be delivering expensive clicks one time of the year, but then it could be delivering cheap clicks another time of the year. It all depends on what they're doing to market their site to their audience. And then it also varies by the type of job, right? So
those are average clicks by job category. Just name, what are the top 5 there? Read them off.
Yeah, and again, it's hard to read, and it's on purpose because there's a lot of data, right? So sort of supply chain logistics jobs, typically manufacturing, those jobs tend to have a high number of clicks per job on average, right? So that's customer support, food service, right? Food service, you need skills, but it's not necessarily a degreed vocation.
All right.
Weird.
I think the internet in San Fran is there an earthquake today?
I hope not. Knock on wood.
All right, no problem.
All right. If you see shaking, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So where do we disconnect? Okay. So again, top categories where you get a lot of traction, typically food service, customer service, call center jobs, supply chain, clerical and administrative. Those are the high sort of traffic jobs where you get a lot of clicks, right?
Yep.
Nursing jobs, transportation, which includes truck drivers or drivers in general, commercial license drivers, engineering, those tend to be jobs where you don't get a lot of clicks. You still do pretty well, but you get less just based on the supply and demand of that sector.
Yep.
And
okay, you had a slide before with the 4 circles. Can you go back there? Yeah, this one here.
Yeah.
Look at some of these stats here for a second.
So
yeah, 22 applications per job on average using Recruitology. It doesn't like that slide. Maybe. Let's skip that slide.
Yeah. So it's a slide that I sort of like showing because it makes us look good, but I also hate it because it's a blended average and you just can't use averages, right? Like you have to look at every category.
Read off the averages again if you could.
So the averages, an average is total blended average. When you spend $100 budget per job, we're getting 263 clicks per job on average, right?
Okay.
Compared to a job where maybe you spend on a 30-day job board, whether it's free or paid, the best comparable benchmark data is 20 clicks a job. But again, we don't know how much budget got put behind it, right? Applications, we're delivering 22 applications on average per job compared to a benchmark of 6 applications that we saw last year from a benchmark report that came out by Magix. But again, it doesn't say what budget they're spending, but that sort of gives you a rough idea of what we're seeing in terms of.
Okay. So let's see here. It's 142. Did you have other slides you wanted to show, Roberto?
Just the best practice. Can you see my screen?
No, go ahead and share it again if you could.
All right. I think that's what it's having trouble with. Best practice, sharing of the screen. Why don't we just? I can just talk about it.
All right, just walk through it then.
So the best practices that I wanted to share, if you want to leverage programmatic, and I sort of touched upon it, is like just make sure you use a meaningful job title in the description, right? So Chris, you mentioned the recruiting example. Actually, if you have a recruiting job, call it a recruiting job or a recruiter job, and be specific in the job title, right? And don't come up with like a generic or like kind of a made up name. So if you're Google, don't put like, Googler as the job title. Put what the actual role is going to entail, and then make sure you put the right skills in the description. And then in the description, again, put the right skills. And as always, in the apply to URL, make sure you provide the job seeker a link directly to the apply to form or the job description, just to minimize the number of hops they need to make before they apply for a job.
Yep.
And those are the 3 simple takeaways here that I have. And again, the goal is to just educate folks on how AI works on the programmatic space and machine learning and how we're using it. And we're always looking for partners that we can add in our publisher network. We're also looking for reseller partners in areas where we don't have reseller partners. And if you're an employer looking to leverage this technology, I provided a URL below, which you can complete the form, and it'll route you to one of our media partners who can put together a campaign for you. And again, if you have any questions, anyone has any questions, you can always email me, and I'm pretty accessible via email most of the time.
Yeah, let me grab this URL here and put it in the chat for the viewers there. Cool, and send me the deck, Roberto. I'll make it accessible for the people who watch the replay, if you like. Any last words of advice as we wrap things up here?
Last words of advice is programmatic is here to stay, and it'll keep getting better. So whenever you're checking out programmatic solutions.
Oh, we lost them. All right, well, I guess we'll end it there, everyone. And I'll edit the video and repost the replay without the interruptions in the next few hours or so. So stay tuned for that. And don't forget, September 5th, best practices in text recruiting with Emissary. I'll see you then. Have a great holiday weekend, everyone, if you're here in the U.S.